Hi, my name is Travis and I'm a professional counselor in the state of Pennsylvania. I have a small private practice, and I say small because it's just me. Hi. And when I was setting up this practice, I felt super uncomfortable. Felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was kind of beyond me. I didn't know what types of resources to pull together. And so I kind of felt like I was in the dark. Thankfully, I've kind of finally got that together. And since that time, I've helped a couple of other folks step into this process themselves, and they've had some good results. So I wanted to make this video just to share my experiences, but I need to make sure I start with a couple of disclaimers. First, this is my experience. This is not business advice. I am not a business person. I am a counselor first and business person maybe 20th. It's not something that's a big priority. It's not a huge skill set. I'm just talking about my experiences and the different pieces that I put together. Timeline that I talk about will be my own, and it won't be yours. Additionally, recognizing that I'm in Pennsylvania and I'm talking about Pennsylvania, so this might not apply somewhere else. And finally, that everyone is unique. Your conditions, the experiences that you're having are going to be unique to you. The practice that you want to build is going to be unique to you. I can't tell you what that's going to be like. I have a couple of objectives or hopes for making these videos. The first is just to normalize fears. I feel uncomfortable with this. Other folks have too. That's okay. Second is to share a perspective. Certainly my experiences, but also that these skills and knowledge that we need to acquire in order to start a practice is not beyond our ability. The third is that some people may feel stuck in their job, and if this opens up an opportunity for them to explore options to maybe feel like this is accessible, then that's exciting. And that's the final piece, is just encouragement that making this leap, making the shift into our own business feels scary, feels overwhelming, and I'm just here to encourage to say, hey, maybe this is okay. Now, bracketing those disclaimers and objectives to the side for a moment, it took me about 12 weeks of regularly tending to this work in order to get my practice up and running. This does not mean that I had a full caseload and a full-time job in my practice, by no means. This just meant that I had gone through most of these steps that I'm going to talk about here, and I was able to start accepting clients. Think about for yourself, what does your timeline look like? So let's jump into the business stuff. The Limited Liability Corporation, the LLC, is the most accessible form of business that we can establish as counselors. And it's a first step, it's an easy step. You can complete things online. You're going to need an address and a name. Now that address can be updated, the name can be updated, so going through this process and getting it rolling will be helpful. You're going to need this in order to start getting credentialed with insurance companies. The LLC in Pennsylvania fits counselors, social workers, marriage and family therapists. If you're a psychologist and you're watching this, you might need to look at the PLLC. Once we've established our LLC, we're going to want to register it in order to ensure that we're paying taxes not only at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level. You might need to look up your municipality online, look at their governmental web page, and find out how you register a business. It's okay to pick up a phone and make a phone call. Civil servants are really helpful folks, so don't hesitate to make contact with them. Moving into accounting or banking, kind of the financial stuff, you're going to need an EIN or tax ID from the IRS. Again, you can apply online, a couple of background questions, and you're going to be issued an EIN number for your business. Now, this is for your business, which is separate from you. So we're establishing an EIN for a business entity. You're going to get documentation about your EIN. Print that out, download it, hold on to it. The IRS can issue a copy of that if need be, but it's much easier if you just hold on to it from the beginning. Establishing a business banking account is going to be helpful in case there are certain bills that need to be paid through your business account. So for myself, I need to pay my business insurance with my business banking. And so getting that set up as a way to start to establish those payments, as well as to differentiate your personal finances from your business finances, can be really helpful. Now, you might not have income yet, but you're going to want to start thinking about your budget or your financial plan. And this is going to include the expenses, so the things that you're going to pay for, and your income, what you anticipate making over the course of a year. So starting to establish this now, before you get started, is going to help you identify what your plan is, certainly for your business, as well as whether or not you're meeting your financial needs over time. On the revenue side, we're thinking that every time you provide services, you're getting paid. And there are really important things to consider that pull you beyond that equation, but at least initially you're going to want to think about how many clients you're going to see a week, how many weeks a year you're going to be working, and so overall, what's your anticipated income? So a few things to think about. Holidays are going to interfere with attendance for both yourself and for the clients that you serve. That every week there are going to be maybe a no-show, an illness, a cancellation. That clients take vacation and get sick throughout the year. It's not just during particular weeks or particular months. Summers tend to lighten things up, at least here in Pennsylvania, and it might be improvements in mood due to weather, or it could be that people go on more vacations, there are more outings, there are more kind of surprise activities like, hey, there's a concert over here and I'm going to go see it tonight. I'm not going to be able to make it in, and gosh, that's great wellness, but it's not great for my business plan. In turn, as counselors, we're probably going to take a couple days off due to illness, due to medical appointments or holidays, and it's also healthy for us to take vacations, take time away from the work, restore ourselves. Additionally, seeing 40 clients a week is probably unhealthy for us as counselors. It's also unlikely given client attendance. And remember that we're providing direct services, we're documenting those services, we're also running a business. So I discourage counselors from thinking, well, I work a 40-hour job now, I'm just going to see 40 clients in a week, because you're doing a lot more stuff than just seeing clients. On the other side of revenue are expenses, right? So as we start a business, we're going to have a lot of one-time startup fees, application fees, installation fees. Track them, hold on to those receipts and all other receipts in order to integrate those into our taxes later on. As you start to explore different services, you're going to get a better sense of what your expenses are going to be as you decide what you're going to spend your money on. Now, to give you a sense of where I'm at with things, every month I have rent, internet, my EHR, which is also my telehealth stuff, my business insurance, my billing costs, consultation costs, fax, and kind of communication costs with that. On the other side, each year, I spend money on my website, my malpractice insurance, certifications, licensure, professional membership. We're also spending money throughout the year on continuing education, not only for the credits, but also to promote our practice. One thing that can be challenging is as we move into being private business owners, it means that we need to start paying for our own health insurance and retirement savings. And these might be things that we haven't considered before. Now, the Affordable Care Act has been very helpful in establishing a marketplace for exploring different health insurance opportunities. Additionally, with retirement savings or other types of savings, we might explore our financial institution that can make referrals. These are important things to consider as we compare our dreams or hopes for private practice versus our current employment place. And we might find that after these expenses, really there's no difference. And so we kind of wonder, is there a financial benefit to making this shift? And if not financial, is there an emotional, intellectual, even spiritual benefit to making this shift? As I mentioned, we want to track our expenses because they play an important role in our taxes as business owners. Now, being an LLC and a sole owner, employee, I can incorporate my business taxes in my personal taxes. And this can oftentimes make things easier. Now, as small business owners, we don't have money taken out of our check each week like we do as employees. Instead, we pay anticipated taxes quarterly throughout the year. And so we pay federal taxes quarterly, state taxes quarterly, and we pay our local taxes quarterly. You can find this paperwork online. There are simple equations to go through as you anticipate how much money you're going to make and then ultimately what you need to pay in taxes. There can be a desire or a fear that, we want to get this done right or that we're going to do something wrong. But just like taking deductions from our paycheck when we're employed by someone else, so too, if we overpay our taxes or underpay our taxes, we're going to identify that when we do our taxes and we're going to be able to correct that. Moving into billing, counselors have the opportunity to keep paper documents and records. However, the EHR and these online platforms that exist today oftentimes integrate with payment and with billing services. So I can use my EHR to schedule the appointment, to generate an invoice for that appointment, and collect payment on that appointment. I can also use that to submit to insurance companies for claims. This is all in addition to documentation, consents, treatment plans, and integrating with high-tech and HIPAA requirements. As a caveat, moving money through any online program is likely going to result in some percentage being taken away. And it's just the cost of doing business. We need to identify that and include it in our taxes as a business-related expense. Now, to get credentialed with insurance companies as providers, we need an NPI Type 1 number, which is for ourselves, and an NPI Type 2 number, which is for our business. NPI is National Provider Identifier and is administered through the Department of Human Services. If you already have a Type 1 number, it's going to be easy to open that up and start a Type 2 for your business. If you don't have a Type 1, that's okay. You need to apply for it though. So again, Type 1 is for ourselves, Type 2 is for our business. Our NPI number is going to be updated in our CAQH, or CAC, the Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare. And this is an online platform where we create a profile talking about our educational background, our work experience, things like that, our different licensure. And then insurance companies can look at that when we apply. So they can evaluate our background and establish whether or not they want to credential us. For many folks watching this, you probably already have a CAC profile, but if not, it's pretty easy to set up. It just takes time. So we've got our NPI 1 number, we've got our NPI 2 number, we've got our CAC profile, we've got our LLC, our EIN, we've got all that important business stuff put together, and now we can apply to be credentialed with health insurance companies. Now, some counselors choose to be cash only, and that's great if they work in an environment where that's supported. For most of Pennsylvania, people are paying for their health insurance either through their employer or in the marketplace, and they want to use their health insurance. So applying to be credentialed with insurance companies is helpful because it's going to allow people to use their health insurance. It's also going to enable them to find you a lot easier. Now, if you're already credentialed with an insurance company, you don't need to apply again. What you're doing instead is you're adding your practice as an additional location. This might require you to provide your NPI 2 number, your EIN, your business address, your fax number, your phone number, your email, your contact, and in some cases your business banking account, as well as you might need to agree to certain procedures that the insurance company require. For some folks, they just put the time in and kind of do this process themselves. Applying to be credentialed with insurance companies is pretty simple if you have the information to provide, and because you've gone out and gotten this information, the EIN, your NPI number, all that stuff, you've got it. So all you have to do is provide it. It can be time consuming, and so sometimes people will contract with a billing company in order to work on credentialing for them. Additionally, some people will contract with a billing company in order to support their billing processes, to submit claims on their behalf, to track the claims, to follow up on claims. This is certainly work that you can do on your own. You don't need help from a billing company to get credentialed. You don't need help from a billing company in order to submit and track claims. It just depends on in what ways you want to invest in this work and maybe where you want support in running your practice. A typical billing company takes anywhere from 6 to 10% of the claims, which is a portion of your income. Now, it might save you some time to have them work in this way on your behalf. For me, I contract with a billing company, and it's because I want to just be able to send them the information. They call the insurance company and get things squared away. What's the copay? What's the deductible? I want them to submit the claim and to track the claim and to follow up. But that's something that we all decide for ourselves. What is going to support our practice? And for me, again, it was important to have that support, that someone else do that, but then it freed me up to see more clients. It freed me up to focus on other activities like reading and journaling, treatment planning, making videos because it's fun. With communications, we've got 3 big things to think about: our fax number, our phone number, and our email. Fax numbers are still required for a lot of HIPAA-compliant communication with insurance companies, and we can go old school and get a fax machine and a landline and kind of figure that out. Or there are also HIPAA-compliant online fax services, so long as you have set up a BAA, and that becomes important when we're thinking about online stuff, the business associate agreement that is between you as a provider and your company and their company. And so you can do online faxes, you might be able to do online phones, you can certainly do online emails because that's where email exists, but you want to make sure that you have that business associate agreement so that protects your communications and it protects your digital records. Email can be particularly tricky because these are oftentimes provided by our IT department in a practice or an agency that we're a part of, and now we need to take that on ourselves. There are some free options, but we also can look to purchase an email. But again, whether it's free or whether we're purchasing this, we need a BAA that protects that to ensure that there's an encryption around our email correspondence. Thinking about setting up a space is going to be different for each person. For some folks, you might want to do a virtual office from home. For some folks, you might want to go out and rent a space. It just depends on the type of practice that you need, as well as the constraints of your life. I live with a big family in a small space, so I can't have a home office. I need a physical place to go to. Even if you have a home office that you're going to be working from, you're going to want to make sure that you have an office that is listed as your address so that mail can go to that. It can be a part of the credentialing process, as well as showing up on the EOBs for your clients. And so you might explore different options that are available in your community, online, to contract, maybe to sublet from another counselor their physical space, or to go with an agent that then will be able to set up a virtual office for you. And if you decide you want a physical office, there's a lot to consider. What neighborhood is going to work well for the demographic that you want to serve? Are you willing to clean up a space in order to get a better deal? Additionally, when they come into that space, is there going to be a place for them to wait for their appointment? Also thinking about is the space quiet enough? Can you dampen the sound so that there's some privacy? Are there bus lines that feed into that space? And if not, who are you cutting out from those that you can serve? When looking for a space, you might consider online listings, as well as just walking around different neighborhoods, seeing what types of postings are up in different places, and is that a place that you might want to work? And so now we're starting to think about having a business and a physical presence to that business. This requires business insurance. This is different than our malpractice insurance. We're so used to paying for that, and we realize that that covers our practice. But now we need something that covers our business. This might start by reaching out to your current insurance provider, who maybe does your home insurance or your renter's insurance or your car insurance, and just saying, hey, I'm starting a business, I'm looking for something, what do you got available? Typically, starting with someone you trust can go a long way to opening that conversation. We're also going to want to set up our internet services. And business internet is pretty much the same thing as personal internet, but it does get billed differently. So look at the different companies in your area. Look at the criteria for running your telehealth platform. So the upload and download speed required for your video or telehealth appointments. And this is going to be important when you're looking at the different plans that are offered, because you might be able to get a more affordable plan because it meets your needs instead of getting a more expensive plan. Whether you're working virtually or have a physical space, you're going to need a file cabinet for safe storage of records. As much as we've moved to an EHR type of platform and everything is electronic, we're still going to have psychotherapy notes, we're going to have releases of information, we're going to have different documents, we might have artwork, we might have all sorts of stuff. And so keeping that secure on site is going to be important. A filing cabinet that can be locked in a room that can be locked so that there are at least 2 layers of security is going to be vital to ensuring the safety and security of these records. As a personal note, when I started my practice, I found that filing cabinets were much more expensive than I anticipated. And that was actually a great cost savings, as I just got another used one, I got a lock bar, and it was really very affordable to put that together. Setting up our space, whether it be an office in the community or whether it be a home office that we're working from, can be wonderful to express ourselves through the different things that we put in the office. And it can also speak then to the populations that we're serving. And we don't talk about this enough. Having stuff in an office dampens sound. Dampening sound is all about breaking up sound waves. And so thinking about things on the wall, couches, rugs, all of this stuff starts to break up sound, softens it so that it increases the privacy. We also want to think about having white noise machines. I've got one in the hallway and I've got an air purifier in the room. That goes a long way to help. We might put a radio somewhere in order to kind of create this ambient audio. Again, protecting the speech that's happening within those rooms, even if that room is a room in our house. Advertising and building a caseload requires us to get out of our office, essentially. Psychology Today profiles are not enough to build a caseload, but it's also really helpful for building a caseload. However, having it, filling out those prompts, reflecting your practice, and reaching out to your target demographic is going to go a long way to extending your reach. You might also consider a business website. Now, this isn't going to be essential to your practice, but it can elevate your message and it can allow you to express other things about your work. Most counselors don't need a website to get their practice going. And so as you're going through this process, just think about how you want to invest your time. This might be something that you return to later on. Additionally, a blog or social media can be a great way to share your practice, to talk about your perspective around mental health and wellness, but it's not necessary in order to start your practice. And depending upon the target demographic that you want to serve, it might be more or less helpful to be engaged in that space. So just thinking about what works for you, what works for the clients you want to serve, and think about whether or not you want to engage and in what ways you want to engage. Reaching out into our community can also be really helpful to open up pathways for referrals. And so thinking about after you've established your Psych Today profile, maybe established a website or established some sort of way for people to contact you, reaching out to other professionals and letting them know about your practice. This could be former colleagues that you've worked with at different agencies. It could be supervisors. It could be former professors. It could be other professional contacts in the area. Reaching outside the mental health community can also go a long way. So thinking about your target population, who you want to serve, and how you might be able to access them. So if you're interested in working with kids, you don't contact a physician who specializes in a geriatric population. You start by accessing pediatricians, right? And maybe even dentists who have a pediatric specialty. Again, it's all just about getting your name and your practice out into a community of those who might benefit from your services. There are other ways that you might get your name into the community, maybe giving talks for different groups, speaking in different community settings, being a part of different advocacy events, maybe even writing something for the newspaper. It all gets your name out there. It promotes and elevates your practice. And that's kind of where we wrap things up, is thinking about clinical practice, because I don't want to overlook this. Thinking about supervision, consultation, my encouragement is don't go it alone. Have a community. One of the joys of clinical practice, at least for me, is to be able to talk with and work with other professionals to deepen our experience of this work. Find that community for you. Who do you consult with? Who do you meet with? Make it a regular thing. Maybe reach out to former colleagues. Maybe reach out to former classmates to see if they want to meet up and start something. Now, on the other side of that is that when working to establish malpractice in a legal case, one of the things that's trying to be proven is that the counselor acted outside of what might be considered common practice or what other counselors would do given a similar situation. Showing that we are in consultation, that we are in regular or frequent contact with other professionals goes a long way to establish that we're a part of that work. Additionally, when we think about ethical decision-making models, essentially across models, we see that consult is integral. I cannot think of a model that doesn't have consult in there because it's essential. Additionally, creating clinical forms is a small piece that takes time and consideration. We're going to need at least a phone screen, an informed consent, maybe a consent for telehealth services, intake, diagnostic evaluation, a release of information, and template for our counseling notes. Most EHRs are going to give that to us in some sort of boilerplate, and we can make it our own. Or you can borrow from places that you've worked before with little tweaks and updates, maybe things that can provide a sense of inspiration as you make this your own practice. Being that we are on our own means that if something happens to us, we need someone to step in and take care of our clients. And so that incapacitation or death, it is an ACA requirement, but it's something that, again, is easy to overlook, that we need a colleague to come in. If I'm incapacitated, I need them to come in and contact my clients, let them know that I'm not going to be able to meet. And so that person needs to know about that relationship first. They need to know how to access my records. And we need to establish that formal relationship in writing. And so you might talk to a colleague, a former classmate at school, someone that you know and trust and who's going to know if something happens to you. So for me, my person is a colleague who's also a friend. And if something happened to me, they would know probably within 24 hours that something had happened to me. And then they know exactly how to get access to all my stuff. And finally, just finding time or maybe taking time to follow our passions. We do this for a lot of different reasons. We come into the work of being counselors for a lot of different reasons. And making sure that we're honoring the work that we want to do, the professionals that we're working on growing into, goes a long way to ensure that this is fulfilling and meaningful work. When we pursue those trappings of success, the money, the power, the fame, the fortune, whatever that may be, then a sense of dislocation, of meaninglessness, of hopelessness can start to set in. And so ensuring that we maintain our practices focused on meaning, the pursuit of values, instead of the pursuit of profit. But that's my intentions for getting into private practice. You're going to have your own. And I hope that this video has been helpful, just maybe in normalizing, kind of thinking about the encouragements of you stepping out on your own, if that's something that you decide to do, if it fits for you. But regardless, thanks for watching.